So, guys, I have the brilliant, the big three, the most amazing creators from Cobra Kai: Jon Hurwitz, Hayden Schlossberg, and Josh Hild. And we are here to not only talk about Cobra Kai, but we are here to talk about the upcoming high-octane action comedy Netflix series, Obliterated, which is going to be out 30th of November. Guys, thank you so much for being here. It is honestly such an honor to have you on.
That's good to talk to you, Shamoon.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Good to be here.
Of course, with this whole journey of, you guys having Obliterated come out next week, and, the last 6 years must have been so insane to you, going from everything with that initial idea with Cobra Kai, and, putting that vision into perspective and actually making it happen, and I know you guys being good friends since, like college, and always hoping you could, bring back the story of the Karate Kid in the way you did. And, just that whole journey. I want to ask you guys, like, how does it feel coming to a close with Cobra Kai? And also, just as friends, you guys have, grown so much together and come to this point with the show, which is something the Karate Kid you grew up with. So just tell me how that feels.
It's crazy. It's one of those things that, like, we look back to, we all knew each other before we were in the entertainment industry. I mean, Hayden and I were friends since high school. We met Josh when we were 18, when we were freshmen in college. And, all we did was talk about movies. We talked about movies. We talked about comedy. We talked about, TV shows. We talked about, it was entertainment that was something that we were all just obsessed with. And being a part of this industry felt like this unrealistic kind of dream. We all came from New Jersey. Like, you didn't know anybody who had jobs in the industry. And just sort of, as we decided to kind of go for it, and then found some early success, and, made our first movie with, Harold and Kumar, and, Josh with Hot Tub Time Machine. And, like, it became more and more real. And you're looking around and you're with your best friends that you've known forever. And Cobra Kai was such a amazing, surreal experience for us, because we, started off talking about that on, like, the couch that, Hayden and I lived in this apartment. Josh lived 1 block away. And, we'd be watching movies at night. And I remember watching, Karate Kid, the new DVD came out and had all the special features, and you're seeing interviews with them. You're seeing Billy Zabka talking about his, point of view as, his approach to Johnny Lawrence, and how he viewed him as a 3-dimensional character, not just a bully. And we had been so fascinated with those movies and, his work, that even back then, it was like, 2002, we were talking about the idea of, bringing those characters back. So, to fast forward a bunch of years and to be working in the industry and to find that moment where the three of us could band together and try to make this actually a reality, and for it to actually happen, it was insane. So to, I'll never forget, that first season. Again, it was surreal. You're there on set with Ralph Macchio playing the Karate Kid, and you're there with, Billy Zabka playing Johnny Lawrence, and you're adding to that world and adding to that story. And now looking back, where, like you said, it's 6 years later, we're gearing up to make that final season right now. We're, deep in the writer's room, and, heading to set, after the new year. And, it's right now, there's the excitement of it. There's the stress of the work, because there's just so much, that it's, you want it to be great, and we have great things planned. So, it hasn't hit us quite yet. We're predicting that, like, when you're filming that final episode or two, you're going to start to it's going to really hit you. And probably there will be emotions that we're not quite prepared for. But right now, it's been a bit since we've been with that cast. We've had, times where we gotten together socially with them, but to be on set with those actors who we love so much, and a lot of the crew, that whole gang, this final season is going to be sort of, a great, it's going to be a party. It's going to be a lot of work, but it's going to be a party and a lot of a love fest. And we just can't wait.
Very wise words. Hayden, Josh, anything you'd like to add to that?
Hayden and I wanted to
Or
make
he's
a
like,
show about Mr. Han and Dre, but Jon disagreed, so we allowed his narrative to kind of inform where we went. So we left a lot on the table, to be honest, but I think it's worked out mostly fine. There's some things that we didn't get to do because our two favorite characters aren't in this series.
I think I know what you're talking about there, Josh. Which is actually weird timing, as I just saw that now. Character impact with Cobra Kai. I know with the Karate Kid, you had the character impact with Mr. Miyagi and Daniel, and just the underdog story is something viewers really are engaged with, and they relate to it, and it's something that I think every viewer can sort of get behind and back a character that's an underdog. When you first came into Cobra Kai and you made these new characters that were very new, and when you first realized the characters that you made were also reflecting on the impact that was made with the Karate Kid characters, how did that made you feel, knowing that the characters you made that were new in Cobra Kai were impacting that new audience that were viewing Cobra Kai?
That was the hope, when you're creating new characters in a world that you grew up with, you want them to feel like they fit into that world. At the same time, it was, we were writing the show in 2016, 2017, and wanted to reflect the change in times. So, we had a little bit of leeway on what we could do with character, the types of characters that we would focus on. And a series allows you to jump into different points of view. So we were really excited about exploring that. And, ultimately we had the utmost respect for the big characters from the original, Miyagi, Johnny Lawrence, down to, obviously, the Karate Kid 3 and Terry Silver. And we love these characters. We've, watched those movies when we were very young and impressionable. So we knew that when you're creating new characters, you want them to hit in the same way. A lot of what we do every season is think about, like, how is this like the Karate Kid at its core? Because that's why people are showing up. You want to always do something different, but at the end of the day, there's people overcoming odds, and karate is somehow involved in it. And so, you have to have challenges, and you want those challenges to be relatable. And we just remember watching the Karate Kid and being so emotionally invested. So I think, when we created characters like Miguel and Aisha and Eli and Dimitri and Tori, we want them to go through things that send you on an emotional journey, and one which, karate somehow gets involved and helps them either overcome things or get into deeper trouble. And that was the mindset going in. And so then seeing, fan base, the fan base for Cobra Kai, loving the new characters, and now they feel real within the Karate Kid Miyagi verse. It's just it's so rewarding, and we're excited about the future, beyond Cobra Kai.
That impact, I felt that a lot in many of the characters in the show, and in one in particular, Miguel. It honestly feels really scary when seeing how the way you've written him, because I honestly feel like a lot of the stuff that happened to Miguel, honestly, a lot of it's happened to me in my life, and I understand, like, there's plenty of characters in the show that people relate to different arcs and different things that have happened, but it's so scary. It's like you guys like knew my life and you just sort of like elements of that, because like I think it's really scary, like the whole thing with like Miguel and his dad. Like that's something my mum went through something very similar with that, and luckily it wasn't on a sense of me having to go to somewhere like across the pond or finding out the truth about my own father. But that story really moved me. And you know that just to see what Miguel went through, it was you're like, oh, like, is he being too naive here? And I know my truth with my own father, but to see that with Miguel and then his sensei Johnny, who never actually found the truth about his own father, it's sort of, you know, his way of, I need to do better here. So I just wanted to share that with you guys because that's something that touched me massively. And
it's amazing. I mean,
impacted me.
we write, from all the life experience we've had, from people we've known, at various times in our life. I mean, we went to high school at one point, and high school is not a easy time in anyone's life. Whether you're the most popular kid or the least, there are stresses and stressors that are put upon you at that time when your hormones are going crazy and everything feels like the most important thing or the end of the world. And whether it's a test or a first breakup or a sports victory or a loss, it is everything is firing, and you're coming of age and you're trying to find out who you are and what makes your life important. And then you have economic disparities between people from different neighborhoods, different different experiences. Then you have cultural differences, and we try to draw upon our own groups of friends growing up. John and I have kids, and we see cycles kind of repeating themselves. Like life, just because you grow up and you learn a lesson doesn't mean that gets automatically passed on to the next generation. They have to grow up and learn the same lessons and go through the same experiences. So it's really moving to hear that our story affected and touched you so personally, because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to tell honest stories through the Karate Kid lens. Use that character, that underdog experience, that rooting interest within the framework of this larger than life kind of magical valley experience where karate can either solve all or ruin all, depending on whether you use it for good or bad.
I also, just think this franchise, has always been at its core about like fathers and sons. And, we, through a series, expanded out where, it's really beyond that. It's mentor student. And, you see Amanda being a mentor, to Tori in season 4 and stuff like that. But there's just something about like, the three of us are guys and you're boys, and you deal with, stuff in school, and there's, lessons about like when to fight, how to fight, that are very, I think, particular to boys. That and the fact is, there's a lot of people. It's not common to grow up in a single father household. It's usually a single mother household, or it's usually like something where even if you have a father, there's still like these moments of like, do you teach your kids how to fight? And not everyone does that, and yet you go through these challenges in school. And I think movies in the past 20, 30 years have been very against, trying to teach boys any sort of aggression for very good reasons. But at the end of the day, I think it's like, what I love about Karate Kid is, they never mention father-son throughout the whole thing, between Daniel and Mr. Miyagi. But it's so clear he needs a father figure. It's so clear Mr. Miyagi had lost his son. And at the end of the day, like, there's those bonds. We need somebody to teach us these secrets, and when of how to overcome challenges. And I think that like, it was fun with Cobra Kai. I think it harkens back to those movies in the 80s that I don't think we see as much, where like, you had boys going through stuff and there's like, a tough male role model that teaches them how to be strong. I think that's just very universal.
For sure. I think like with the show, like just seeing how, characters go about their philosophy based on the dojo they represent is quite interesting. I want to ask you guys, like, so there's 3 dojos main dojos with like Eagle Fang, Miyagi-Do, and Cobra Kai. If out of the 3 dojos, if you guys had to individually, or if you represented a dojo, which would you choose based on your individuality?
It's tough. It's tough because I would say that, at least for myself, I would say Miyagi-Do overall in terms of, it being, focusing on defense and, there's a lot of, peacefulness and finding balance in your life is a huge element of, kind of how I carry myself day to day. But I certainly have a little bit more of an eagle fang edge to me. A lot of times, I think that maybe that's coming up from growing up in New Jersey. And there's a certain, way of being that I think we are that, there's a little bit of a sense of humor to it, and a little bit of a, harder edge and not being, a pushover. I think, the three of us are guys who, are, I think, kind individuals, but also don't want to take shit from people and don't and don't want to be mistreated and aren't afraid to stand up for ourselves. So I think there's a little bit of that Johnny Lawrence energy within all of us. Sort of peacefully talk things out at all times. I think we default to peacefully talking it out, but you're not going to walk all over us.
For sure. I mean, anyone that's treating you like shit, you just have to shout quiet to them in their face. And
exactly. That's
literally.
Literally. Just a quick moment. I will say that to the point with quiet, I'll never forget, dating back to before we shot a frame of the show, before we saw Billy Zabka ever play our version of Johnny Lawrence, we were having our chemistry reads one day before season 1. And, Billy didn't have to audition for the role, so he had it. But Jolo was coming in and some other actors were coming in. And beforehand, Josh was running the lines with Billy because Billy's like, hey, let me just run it one time before, we get, the other actors in there. And it was when Billy in that line yelled quiet and we all kind of jumped back. We all looked at each other. We're like, this show is going to totally work.
It scared the hell out of me.
That's
I was standing very close to him at the time, and it was it was shocking. And it's like, okay, here we go.
Yep. We know the show's going to work.
Yeah, that's literally if you just hear, I can just imagine that first time. I probably fall out my seat whoa, Billy, what was that? I'd be going crazy. But yeah, that's thanks for sharing that. That's really cool. So now we can talk a little bit on Obliterated, because obviously that's out very soon. And I was just telling you guys right before we began, I love the trailer. It looks so fun. It's a bit of everything I look for in, a bit of comedy, a bit of action. It's that sense of humor and the characterization with what we saw. I mean, I absolutely love what I've seen so far. So I want to ask you, when did you guys first come up with the idea for Obliterated? Because I understand it was first supposed to be like a movie, and then I guess maybe with the way Cobra Kai went, you then decided that it would fit better for an ensemble series.
Yeah, it was just a movie that we had way back when, maybe 15 years ago. And it was around at the time we were making the Harold and Kumar movies and the American Pie movie, and we were flirting with the idea of doing something in the action comedy space. But all the action comedy movies at the time were just different pairings of a comedic actor with an action star, and for us, that's not interesting. That's we like movies where they're writer driven, and the concept and the leads to comedy. So we had this idea. It's just based on, wrap parties that we've had for movies. You work with a crew for 2 or 3 months, and then you finish and you throw this big party and you find out all these different things at the party because now people are drinking and letting things out. And, we joke about sometimes, and also you're not expecting to see these people again after this. You all go home. So, people hook up, people tell each other off. And we always joked about oh my God, well, what if you found out, oh my God, we have to do reshoots and we still have to work together. And it's taking that kind of concept, but putting it in the action space where you have, these special forces teams that risked their lives to do amazing things to save the world, and nobody knows about it. It's all top secret stuff. So like, you know, when it's all said and done, these are like the big heroes that go above and beyond. And yet, you know, we in society don't know who they are. We celebrate DJs and influencers. And so we figured those types of people would want to party their asses off. So we contemplated, you know, writing Obliterated as a movie, but every time we developed it, it was tricky because the time that you have in a feature doesn't really give you opportunities to explore the ensemble of characters that we wanted. And so we veered off in different directions. But then after Cobra Kai, and we saw what you could do with a series and jump into different characters' point of views, we thought, you know what, if Obliterated was an action series where each season is like its own movie, like a Mission Impossible. And, you know, you can change venues and villains and threats, but it's about these characters, and you're going to introduce them in the first movie, and you'll see their rap party and everything that happens and the aftermath of it. And it, you know, combines big action with big outrageous comedy. And the hope is that along the way, you know, you connect with the characters and that we're bringing them to life the way, you know, Mr. Miyagi and Daniel and Johnny, you know, like our hope is that the members of our team now are like these characters that you want to see again on another sort of adventure. And, you know, we set it up, you know, it was kind of just, you know, through the success of Cobra Kai, ultimately, you know, Netflix was like, you know, what have you got? And when we told them the premise and, you know, showed them our materials for it, they flipped for it, and they let us do it our way. And so we have the cast that we went out to audition and get, and we have just, it's balls to the wall, so not PC, so, you know, not, you know, the one issue is, you know, we know that the Cobra Kai audience is very like, I don't want to say PG because it's kind of PG-13. It's sort of, you know, it's a little edgier than Karate Kid, but it's definitely a show that parents and kids watch together. And Obliterated is, you know, it's a little bit more risque. And I think, you know, younger kids are going to actually like it if they do catch it on Netflix, but parents are not going to be happy that they're watching it. And parents are going to love it, but they're not going to want to see it with their kids. So it's been,
I'll just say parents do not let your children watch this show. Keep it away from them. Put whatever passwords you can on profiles so they can't get into your profile to watch it. It's not for your kids. It's for you.
But for kids out there, let me tell you how to break the passwords. You figure out what your parents. I'm just joking.
No, but yes, if you're an adult, you do not want to watch this. This is not family viewing. Families should not be watching this together. If a kid is able to somehow see it, they should privately see it. And
you should explain some things to them afterwards about what they just saw.
No, don't.
I'll say this though, guys. Like, I mean, I think if you like Cobra Kai, you're probably gonna like it just because it's, you know, it's got characters that you're rooting for, and there's, you know, sequences that are thrilling, kind of like in Cobra Kai. And Cobra Kai is a comedy, and this is a comedy too, and it's really funny. But it's definitely a different, you know, if it doesn't have the morals that, like in Karate Kid, it's all about how you can be a better person. And this is about people that are, you know, they're partying and they're out for the night and they're not looking to be, you know, necessarily.
Cobra Kai is like a great cheeseburger restaurant, and Obliterated is like an awesome bar, you know, and you're not going to bring you know, everybody who likes cheeseburgers into the bar. But if you're somebody who likes like a drink, it's the best bar.
100%.
That's the best way of describing it. So like you said earlier on, like obviously Obliterated is vastly different to Cobra Kai, especially, you know, compared to the R-rated projects you worked on previously. And obviously with Cobra Kai, like it's so different in how you work with the story with that. And, you know, going to something that isn't Cobra Kai and going back to something that's a little bit more to what you guys are known for and shooting Obliterated, like, how did it feel making something like that in comparison to something like, you know, more family?
It was great. It was like taking off, your filters and the various the Karate Kid, the weight of making sure that it still exists in the Karate Kid tone, and all the things that we do to make sure that Cobra Kai threads a needle and feels of a existing franchise and of a tone, and a 4-quadrant show. This that is great stuff for that, but those things are not necessary for Obliterated is literally letting our freak flag fly and doing our purest instincts when it comes to comedy, and our full appreciation of what it is to what we want to see in an action movie, and combining the two. And to go back to the cheese, it is a cheeseburger also. It's a bar and a cheeseburger, but this cheeseburger has like 15 patties and like some bacon and some pastrami and a fried egg, and a whole like Bloody Mary on top of it. It just allowed us to use every ingredient, every instinct we have with no boundaries.
Yeah, it was everything that Josh said, and it was a welcome break. But what's also fun is like once you've done that and you got to have that experience again, which was amazing, it all amazing to go back and do Cobra Kai. It's because we've been doing Cobra Kai nonstop for so long. It was great to have a break from it, but we love Cobra Kai and all that is as well. And it was fun to just do something different and closer to kind of the stuff that we had been doing the rest of our careers. But now that we're back in Cobra Kai land, it's fun, and there's the warm family embrace of of what's going on in the Miyagi-verse. And
well, it's kind of like driving to Vegas. There's that fun of like, yeah, we're going to Vegas, and then when you leave Vegas, there's that fun of like, I'm so happy to be home. And we had both of those experiences.
Exactly.
Right. That sounds hilarious. So with the way you made Obliterated, so why do you feel that the series format worked better than a movie? Because I mean, of course, I'm sure the Cobra Kai success has made you feel like maybe going about this in a different way can be flushed out in, even though it's different, there's like a formula that you could use with the Obliterated that might.
I'll just say it was amazing. Like, we always had the idea for Obliterated, but whenever we tried to write it, it was frustrating because it became just the Ava and McKnight show. It was like, you only had the real estate in a 90-minute film or 2-hour film to really dig deep on a couple characters, and everyone else was kind of pushed to the side. We always wanted to tell a story that was an ensemble where anyone can be a hero. The entire ensemble, they're equally responsible for saving the day. They should all be in the spotlight. And it was always a challenge when trying to write it as a feature. The moment that, we realized, wait a second, like making Cobra Kai is so rewarding because we get to tell a wide array of stories and have rich characters, of all kinds, that are basically the protagonists of their own stories. When we realized that we could do that for Obliterated, it unlocked everything. It allowed for us to take each of these characters, the helicopter pilot, the bomb deactivator, the tech girl, all of them, and they're their own stars of their own Hangover movies or their own Die Hard movies in this show. So it's been an amazing experience, making Obliterated this way. No, this has been awesome. It's been awesome. It's been a long time coming.
For sure,
we appreciate all your support of Cobra Kai. We love your Miguel cosplay as well.
Thanks.
And we're excited for the fans of Cobra Kai to see season 6 when we get there. And we're excited the fans of Cobra Kai who are of age to see Obliterated or somehow find a way to see it if they're not, to experience a whole different vibe from us.
Yeah, we know you're dying for that cheeseburger, but in the meantime, just get wasted on Obliterated.
You heard it from them, guys. Get wasted on Obliterated.